The Big Bang Theory has long been known to leave audiences laughing, but the man behind that show and many other beloved TV comedies once did plenty of door-knocking himself. When people think of the Big Bang Theory, they remember the laughter first, the quirky science jokes, the awkward friendships, and the warmth that wrapped around Thursday nights for over a decade. At the center of it all stood Penny, the neighbor across the hall who made the world of genius physicists feel a little more human. She wasn't just a character. She was a heartbeat of the show. For millions, she became a symbol of comfort, humor, and light. Behind that familiar smile and effortless charm was Kay Christine Cuoco, a woman who had chased a dream since childhood. A dream that gave her everything, but quietly took just as much in return. Born in Camaro, California, in 1985 to Gary and Lane Cuoco, Kay grew up in a grounded, loving home far removed from Hollywood. Her father worked in real estate, and her mother managed the home, providing encouragement without pressure. Before acting, Kay's world revolved around tennis. She began playing at age 3 and quickly became a junior-ranked athlete, competing across California and learning discipline, control, and how to lose gracefully, skills that would later serve her in the cutthroat entertainment industry. Yet, around that same time, she discovered another passion, acting. What began as a hobby in local commercials soon became something more. Acting offered emotional freedom, something tennis never could. By 6, she was landing small roles and guest appearances, balancing two very different worlds, the structured one of sports and the unpredictable one of show business. Eventually, she made the difficult choice to give up tennis and pursue acting full-time, a decision that terrified her parents but defined her future. Like many young actors, Kay faced years of rejection, uncertainty, and self-doubt before real success arrived. Her late teens were filled with in-between years, auditions, minor roles in 8 Simple Rules, Alley Cat Strike, and several made-for-TV movies. Her big break came with Charmed, where she played Billie Jenkins, the teenage witch who joined the Hallowell sisters in the show's final season. It gave her steady work and a glimpse of fame, but when the series ended, so did her momentum. Hollywood can be cruel to actors who fall out of the spotlight, and Kay wondered if her career had peaked before it truly began. Still, she persisted, showing up, staying kind, and keeping hope alive. In 2006, she auditioned for a pilot called The Big Bang Theory, but was turned down because producers felt her character, then named Katie, was too harsh. The project was shelved, but fate wasn't done with her. A year later, CBS revived the idea with a softer, warmer version of the female lead, renamed Penny. When Kay returned to audition, everything clicked. She didn't just play Penny, she embodied her. The chemistry between Kay, Johnny Galecki, and Jim Parsons was effortless, forming the perfect balance of logic and heart. When The Big Bang Theory premiered in 2007, few expected it to become one of the biggest sitcoms in history. But by its 3rd season, it was a global phenomenon. Penny became the bridge between the audience and the show's brilliant but socially awkward characters, and Kay's natural warmth, timing, and charm gave the series its soul. For the first time, she felt stability, something rare in Hollywood. The cast became like family, and the laughter on screen often mirrored the genuine joy they shared off camera. Yet as the years passed, fame began to reshape everything, bringing with it new pressures, expectations, and the quiet cost of being seen by the entire world. Her face was everywhere. Every move, every outfit, every word examined by strangers. It was the odd paradox that the world knew her, yet few truly saw her. Kay loved her work, but over time, the line between Penny and Kay blurred until she no longer knew where one ended and the other began. Behind her smile, the quiet cost of success had already begun to take its toll. Soon, that cost would appear in the form of pain, loss, and a desperate search for balance within a life no longer her own. By the early 2000s, The Big Bang Theory was one of the most watched shows on television, and Kay Cuoco was earning over $1 million per episode, a dream realized beyond the imagination of that girl who used to drive around in a beat-up car to auditions, hoping someone would remember her name. To the world, she had made it. She was living every young actor's dream. But the truth was considerably more complicated. Fame doesn't come with instructions. The long hours, bright studio lights, the laughter cues, and endless camera resets started to all blend together. Penny was adored by millions. But Kay often felt like she was performing even when the cameras weren't rolling. That illusion of control shattered in 2010. During one of her favorite escapes, horseback riding, her horse spooked, throwing her off. She landed hard, breaking her leg so severely that doctors considered amputating her foot. For hours, nobody knew if she would walk again, let alone act. That changed her. It took away the sense of invincibility fame had built. Later, in other interviews, she said it was the first time she genuinely understood fear, not the fear of failing, but the fear of losing everything she loved. Miraculously, she recovered and came back to set with crutches, humor, and the same bright optimism her fans adored. Yet something had changed. She had seen how fragile everything was, the show, the fame, even her own body. As the years passed, she began to feel caged in a world that she once dreamed about entering. People no longer called her Kay. People called her Penny. And with every utterance, a small piece of her real self seemed to fade away. She smiled for cameras, laughed in interviews, and posed for photos, but at home, she felt hollow, as if there were two lives lived side by side, one adored by millions, and another quietly disintegrating. The ending of The Big Bang Theory in 2019 was emotional. She had cried not because a chapter had closed, but because this was all she had known for 12 years. It gave her stability, identity, belonging, and in an instant it was gone, standing on quieted set surrounded by silence. She then knew that the greatest role of her life had also been the hardest to let go of. Every great story has a hidden one, and for The Big Bang Theory, that story unfolded quietly between the takes. During the early seasons of the show, as their characters' romance developed on-screen, Kay Cuoco and Johnny Galecki began a real one off-screen. It wasn't dramatic or planned. It was organic, a connection that creeps up when you spend countless hours together sharing laughs, exhaustion, and trust. Johnny was a calm, thoughtful guy who became her confidant. They often had dinner after shoots, talking about life away from fame. But unlike their characters, their love story stayed private, not out of shame, but for protection. She would later call it a beautiful relationship, but one that belonged only to us. They dated for close to 2 years without anyone on set knowing. No paparazzi, no posts, just quiet love in a world that does not allow quiet. But secrecy can be heavy. Love needs air, and theirs had none. As the show's fame grew, their relationship grew harder to maintain. They broke up around the time their on-screen characters finally came together, a bittersweet irony neither could ignore. The breakup wasn't bitter. It was kind, respectful. They simply grew in different directions. Their friendship endured, evolving into something even deeper. The viewers never knew that the heartbreak behind those smiles on screen was real. Years later, Kay would describe Johnny as one of her closest friends, a bond too meaningful to lose. And their love story ended quietly, without drama, without spectacle, but leaving a mark, teaching her that love doesn't always last, but kindness can, and that's a lesson that made every relationship she had afterward different. Kay vowed after a quiet heartbreak with Johnny Galecki never to lose herself in love again. She wanted stability, and she wanted peace. She met Ryan Sweeting in 2013, a professional tennis player whose calm, grounded presence offered exactly that. His world was simple and steady, the opposite of Hollywood, and it worked for the time being. Their romance was private, real. Kay laughed freely again, and Ryan matched her gentle rhythm. At the end of the year, they were engaged, and on New Year's Eve 2013, surrounded by soft lights, they married. According to Kay, it was surreal, full of laughter, tears, and a wish that this time it would be forever. The early days were golden. Their Tarzana home overflowed with music, dogs, and sunlit mornings. Ryan would play the guitar, Kay sang, and they would dance barefoot around the kitchen. To friends, they seemed like the perfect couple, two people who had found calm after the storm. Cracks opened up, though, beneath the surface. Injuries kept Ryan from playing, and his quiet confidence began to falter. Kay did her best to keep things together, believing love could be enough. But love attempting to save another slowly smothers both. The laughter died. Dinner turned silent. Days blurred to distance. On camera, Kay's joy seemed so real, but off camera, she was falling apart. By 2015, their marriage had reached its quiet end. There was no betrayal, no scandal, only exhaustion. Kay filed for divorce privately, keeping the home and dogs, while Ryan took off in silence and the car he had driven her to their wedding. She carried herself with aplomb then, too, covering the tattoo of their wedding date with a moth. Not to erase the past, but a marked transformation. It reminds me that I survived something, she told people. Eventually, she returned to the tennis court, not to compete, but to breathe.